Obscure City is a place where you can find many unique dangers. This is where she works, Cassandra Killjoy, paranormal private eye. Now a teenage girl's father has gone missing, and Killjoy believes that the city's enigmatic protector, the swordsman, is the key to finding him. So Killjoy must face many deadly dangers in her search for the swordsman. Available on Amazon.com.
Did you know that in 2011, Warner Brothers tried to make a new live-action Wonder Woman series and even went as far as to produce a pilot? Unfortunately, that was a show that was just not meant to be, and it has faded away into yet another of the legends of fandom. Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster, and welcome to Legends of Fandom, where we talk about the fanboy films and shows that almost happened. Today, our story begins in 2011. The comic book movie boom was still in its infancy. The MCU was picking up momentum, Avengers was just around the corner, and Smallville, one of the most successful comic book-based shows of all time, was headed towards its end. And Warner Brothers was looking for something to replace it. The strategy was to produce something completely different than what the competition was doing, as Marvel had mostly found success producing movies starring white male superheroes. And what does DC have that Marvel doesn't? The most popular and successful female superhero of all time. Enter Wonder Woman, the amazing Amazon, one of the most enduring and iconic comic book characters, whose stories stretch all the way back to 1941 and was one of the key ingredients that made DC the top comic book publisher in the world for over 2 decades. Not to mention that the property is already TV tested, thanks to the beloved Linda Carter series from 1976. The project was assigned to David E. Kelley, the creator of Ally McBeal. I'm sorry, but I can completely see the studio executive's train of logic behind making this decision. Hey, that guy made a show about a single woman. He can certainly do this. Now don't get me wrong, Kelley is a very talented producer and writer, but it is painfully apparent that he was mostly chosen because he was a popular name at the time. But hey, it worked because while most networks took a pass, NBC showed interest and even ordered a pilot. Production was immediately underway. The great Adrienne Palicki was casted as the amazing Amazon, and soon images of her wearing a Wonder Woman costume designed by Donna Casey, which included bright blue slacks, leaked onto the internet. The leaked pictures were met with the expected amount of ire from the fan base, but they also led to original Wonder Woman Linda Carter giving the new series her blessing. She was even quoted as saying that Adrienne Palicki looked gorgeous. So, while most of the feedback was negative, it did create a great deal of buzz around the series, which led to TV Guide featuring Adrienne Palicki as Wonder Woman on the cover of their 2011 fall sneak peek. May I remind you that at this point, NBC hadn't officially picked up the show. And now for the most important question of the video. What would a modern live-action Wonder Woman series be like? Well, thanks to one of the biggest leaks in internet history, we know exactly what the pilot would have been like. So we open in a suburb, somewhere in California. This is Wonder Woman, you know, Greek mythology, exotic locations. You know what? The Black Panther movie opens in Oakland, so I'm gonna roll with it. Here we meet Willis Parks, a young football player who hopes that his athletic abilities will win him a scholarship to a good university.
What's it say, Willis?
Yes! Congratulations, Willis.
Willis?
Oh my God!
Willis! Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! Willis! Willis! Willis!
What the hell was that? Well, hopefully we'll be provided with some context in the next scene. Nope! We jump cut straight from a horror movie to an action movie, as Wonder Woman in her shiny blue pants chases after a very fast, very bald man named John O'Quinn, who's apparently a drug dealer. Diana ropes him with the lasso of truth and then forcefully steals a sample of his blood. What? The police show up because of course they would, and demand that she hand him over.
If I give him to you, he'll lawyer up.
Yes! Who wouldn't? But what's truly shocking is that the police make no effort to arrest her, and everyone around her is like,
Do you love your
heroic. She manhandled a guy with no powers and then forcefully and intrusively stole a sample of his blood, but yay? Warner Brothers Pictures proudly presents Wonder Woman. Today's episode, Hands to be Darkened. And for those of you who are wondering why this episode is referred to by that hilarious title, that's because this VFX note was added to the pilot after all the complaints about the costume, and it hilariously appears on screen right after the title sequence, where traditionally one would put the title of the episode. And yes, the pilot has more VFX notes, unfinished CG, and visible wires. And no, I will not be pointing them out or making fun of them, as technically this pilot isn't finished and that's nobody's fault. So after committing assault and battery, Diana flies home in her visible jet. Now, I will admit that these shots of the visible jet flying around town are actually pretty cool, so I'll let it be. Anyway, so Wendy arrives at Themyscira Industries, where she's the CEO, Carrie Elways is the EVP, and Etta Candy is her secretary? What? For those of you who are confused, I'll do my absolute best to explain. In this show, Wonder Woman is not a superpowered magical being born out of Greek mythology. She is a very basic metahuman who owns a multi-billion-dollar company and sells her own image to fund her crime-fighting activities. There are so many things wrong here that I don't even know where to begin. Firstly, Etta Candy is a plus-size character. Can we please give plus-size actors a chance? Thank you.
Next stop, Themyscira. And hopefully an Amazon who likes them thick.
Secondly, Wonder Woman has one of the most original and fascinating origins and lore in all of comics. So to discard that and go with tired old gimmicks that have been done before is just idiotic. Now, some claim that this was their attempt at making Wonder Woman like Batman, which is incorrect, as Bruce Wayne keeps his second identity a secret, and his two lives separate from one another. No, this was their transparent attempt at making Wonder Woman like Tony Stark, whose popularity had just taken off at the time. The reason why this doesn't work is because Tony Stark starts his journey as a very flawed man, who is fighting for redemption, fighting to be better. Wonder Woman is the reverse. She starts her journey as a noble warrior who comes to man's world and discovers that not everything is black and white, that there is a gray area, and she is influenced accordingly. Furthermore, and I cannot stress this enough, making her rich is really lazy. When this pilot was produced, Diana technically had 3 jobs. She was a Themysciran ambassador, she was a curator of Greek antiquities, and she would freelance for the DEO, the Department of Extranormal Operations. That's right, for the Supergirl series, they gave Kara Diana's job. But it's okay, I'm pretty sure she would be fine with that. Point is that there are far more interesting and engaging choices for this show than Billionaire Superhero. And this is the dumbest decision made for this show so far.
Where are you going?
Home.
Aren't you home right now?
The Diana Prince home?
Don't start.
I'm sorry, but what? So I'm going to try to explain this, and if it sounds dumb, that's because it is. So Wendy has 3 identities. Wonder Woman, the superhero, Diana Themyscira, the CEO, and Diana Prince, a single woman who lives in a 1-bedroom apartment where she spends her nights eating snacks and watching The Notebook with her cat. Which is stupid because everybody knows that Wonder Woman's pet is not a cat, it's a kangaroo. And sorry I interrupted. So yes, when she's not fighting crime or running her own company, she sits in this apartment alone with her cat, having flashbacks to that time that she broke up with Steve Trevor. And why does she do this?
The idea of me carving out any semblance of a normal life.
Nope, that is Superman's thing. He was raised as Clark Kent, then later chose to become Superman. So to him, Clark will always be his normal. Wonder Woman was raised a warrior, so to her, fighting monsters, hunting magical relics, and saving the world would be her normal. This is why one of her more endearing qualities is how everyday mundane things like eating ice cream or grabbing a burger with her friends are ridiculously exciting to her. If this was their attempt at making Wonder Woman more like Ally McBeal, then all I have to say about that is objection! The next day, during her actual life, Willis's mother comes to Themyscira Industries and tells Diana what happened to her son during the cold open. Apparently, he had an adverse reaction to some steroids that he bought from John O'Quinn, who Diana just knows works for her rival, Veronica Kale, played by Elizabeth Hurley.
I know you want vengeance, but let's leave that to me, okay?
What? I'm sorry. What I meant to say was, what? So after comforting the concerned mother by promising that she would take bloody revenge on her behalf, Diana goes on TV and openly accuses Veronica Kale of manufacturing the very harmful and illegal steroids that nearly killed Willis and a bunch of other teenage boys. And she does this without any evidence of any kind.
Miss Kale, trust me. If the law doesn't get you, I will.
That is an open threat from somebody who is literally a living weapon. Where are the police? Where's Cadmus? Because at this point, I'm more afraid of Wonder Woman than I am of deadly steroids or Veronica Kale. Kale gives the kind of cool and collective response that one would usually expect from Wonder Woman.
Look, you guys, this woman's an action figure.
She called me an action figure.
All of Diana's crime fighting is funded by Themyscira Industries, and all Themyscira Industries does is sell Wonder Woman's image via merchandising, and their top seller is her action figures and dolls. Her suit is not magical armor granted to her by the gods. It was designed by her production team to look like an action figure, so she could sell more toys, and oh god, this show is depressing. Furthermore, the very next scene, which is the most famous in the pilot, is about them having a meeting about the action figures. And yes, this is the moment in the pilot that she flips her ever-loving shit over her doll's breasts being too big, and feeling like she's being objectified and exploited, even after Carrie Elwes calmly explains that the dolls with the bigger breasts sell better.
I never said to merchandise my tits.
But you gave them permission to merchandise you, and your tits are a part of you, so... Now, please don't get me wrong. Exploiting and objectifying women, or anyone for that matter, is wrong, without consent. But when you're the head of a company for whom all of its profits come from exploiting your image, it's extremely hypocritical, not to mention unprofessional, to chastise your employees when they're doing exactly what you ask them to do. And the sad thing is that this scene has the absolute best performance that Adrienne Palicki delivers in the entire pilot, where she delivers an impassioned and powerful speech about how everyone expects Wonder Woman to be perfect, which is one of the most common misconceptions about the character. However, all of this is completely undermined by the context of the scene. It's almost like this pilot is going out of its way to make Wonder Woman as unlikable as possible. So after chastising her employees for doing their job, John O'Quinn's blood sample comes back from the lab, and it turns out that he had no steroids in his system, so she attacked and violated him for no reason. Nice! Then suddenly Veronica Kale makes an appearance at Themyscira Industries to confront Diana face to face.
Would you like to feel my muscle?
Are you two fighting or flirting?
You want to be friends? Why don't you show me your laboratory?
And what would be in that for me?
I won't kill you.
You know, when the character that's supposed to be the hero behaves more like a villain than the actual villain, you might have a problem. Basically, everything boils down to Veronica warning Diana that she has a lot of friends in Congress, and if she doesn't back off, she's going to have a representative from the Justice Department pay her a visit. Remember this plot point, it will be important later. Cut to a cool sequence of Diana flying around in her visible jet. Haha, yes, the best part of the show. So she goes to the hospital where she visits Willis and reassures him that she's gonna get to the bottom of this. Oh, thank the gods, a scene that finally makes her look like a hero. Of course, that scene is immediately ruined by the following one, where it is revealed that the real reason that she's at the hospital is to illegally interrogate John O'Quinn. A policeman understandably tries to stop her.
Like my outfit, officer? This outfit opens doors for me. It's gonna open that one, isn't it?
Wait. So now you're okay with being objectified? When you make up your mind! When suddenly a baby Pedro Pascal appears. That detective is good, but he could be better. Meet Detective Ed Indelicado. He is Diana's enabler. Their conversation goes like this. I'm gonna go in there and interrogate that guy. I can't let you do that. I'm going anyway. Okay.
Remember this?
Oh, cool! Diana's gonna use the lasso of truth to magically coerce him into telling her everything that she wants to know. Yup. She tortured him so he would tell her the secret location of Veronica Kale's super secret lab. She got the information via torture. Also, what the hell am I watching? So we cut to a very boring and slightly unnecessary scene in which Diana meets with Kale's friend from Congress. He points out all the glaring issues with her activities, namely the public threats, violence, and torture. And her response is that as a member of the government, he has bigger national issues to worry about. With you around, no he doesn't! Anyway, the point of this scene is to remind us that that visit from a member of the Justice Department is imminent. Remember that, because that is the only part of this scene that's worth remembering. We cut back to Themyscira Industries, where our leads contemplate their fates if said member of the Justice Department were to actually make a visit. When suddenly, they receive a phone call letting them know that Willis passed away.
What? He didn't make it.
Hey, it's okay. You've been very busy inciting general mayhem. It's not like you had a multi-billion-dollar corporation with an advanced science division that could have developed a cure for Willis. Suit up montage! So, somehow, someway, Kale knows that Wendy is on her way. So she warns the pork and beans vampire from Buffy to be ready.
Pork and beans. Pork and beans.
During yet another really cool visible jet sequence, Detective Indelicado gives Di a call. Their conversation goes like this. Diana, you can't go into Kale's lab. We don't have a warrant. Sucks for you. I'm doing it anyway. Okay. So Diana busts into the lab like the Kool-Aid Man in her comic book accurate costume due to all the backlash over her shiny blue pants. And buckle up because it's about to go down. Oh! Did she just kill those two guys? Nah, they're probably fine. Finally, she's using the bulletproof bracelets. I love it when she does this. She closes the distance between her and the shooter, and then either knocks them out or destroys the gun with her bare hands. Holy shit! And thus, we get to the final confrontation between Wendy and Kale. Veronica points out all the glaring facts, that she threatened her publicly, broke into her private facility, then injured and killed a bunch of her employees. But what Veronica Kale fails to understand is that Diana Themyscira is impervious to facts.
Get over here!
Yup, she just roped, ragdolled, and choked an unarmed woman with no powers. That just happened.
Want to feel my muscles?
Oh, that's why she said that line earlier. They weren't flirting, they were bookends. Yeah, that still sucks. The police show up in the nick of time to miss everything and find Kale's lab, which is full of deformed test subjects that Kale obtained via human trafficking. So, Kale is arrested, Wendy's crimes are overlooked, and she gets a standing O. But wait, there's more. Even though Diana's ready to retire for the evening, that one very important plot point has just arrived and wants to meet with her. Yup, the representative from the Justice Department arrives, and it turns out to be Steve Trevor. This would be very shocking if his only contribution to the pilot hadn't been an extremely forgettable flashback. Anyway, this scene is awful. The two actors have no chemistry, there is no sense that they have shared history, and it honestly makes me miss that extremely awkward scene with Veronica Kale earlier.
Their balls come particularly easy to me.
So, as it turns out, Steve is married now. So yeah, that door is closed. Cut to the next scene. So our story ends with Diana in her bullshit apartment building a Facebook page, because that's what normal humans do, right? And then drowns her depression caused by the loss of that very exciting relationship she had with Steve Trevor by watching the news where they are showering her with compliments.
If I could just be her for a day, I'd be happy. Just for a day.
Yup, the pilot ends on a down note. How perfectly appropriate. My God, this is bad. And the only thing that is more shocking than the quality of this pilot is that it was written by David E. Kelley. Which leads me to conclude that he either knew nothing about Wonder Woman, or he hated her, and purposely made this pilot as bad as possible so the show wouldn't be picked up and he wouldn't have to work on it. But that's just a theory. It is also possible that the studio, the network, and the owner of the IP put their own irrational demands on the project, which would explain all the ridiculous contradictions. And now for the second most important question of this video. Why didn't this happen? Well, the simple answer is that NBC chose not to pick up the show. The question is, why didn't they pick up the show? Most of the parties involved agree that it was due to the quality of the pilot. Some were even quoted as saying that the pilot was just embarrassing. And DC even voiced their concern that the show was going to hurt the brand. One of the producers even claimed that the network got cold feet over the bad reputation that female-led superhero films had at the box office at the time. And lastly, one of the executives involved claims that out of the two pilots that were produced that year based on the DC properties, comparatively Wonder Woman just looked inferior. But strangely enough, that is not where the legacy of the show ends, as David E. Kelley used the Wonder Woman suit from this pilot for an episode of another show that he created, Harry's Law, where in the episode Gorilla of My Dreams, Erica Durance, better known as Lois Lane from Smallville, guest stars as a lady who likes to dress up like Wonder Woman and beat up men who abuse their wives. And that alone makes her more heroic than the actual Wonder Woman that David E. Kelley tried to give us a year earlier. Oh, and before anyone asks, yes, her pants were darkened. But what do you think? Do you still want a live-action Wonder Woman show starring Adrian Palicki, or are you relieved that this never happened? Let me know in the comment section below, as we have once again reached the end of this video. So, do you know of any fanboy films or shows that almost happened? Let me know at erod@inbox.com. And who knows, your suggestion might just end up being the topic of the next Legends of Fandom. Until next time, I'm Erod, and I'm the Blockbuster Buster.